Got 20 seconds. Come on, Amanda, go.
Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Good. Get those knees up. Explode. Good. Explode. Let's go. Up.
Rock forward. Let's go. One more. Go.
You are listening to the Fight Strength Podcast with your hosts, Phil Daru and Jason Burgos.
What is going on, fighting and fitness fans? The dynamic duo of podcasting is back. Of course, I am speaking of myself, Jason Burgos, contributor for SureDog.com, and I'm with my podcasting compadre, the hardest working man in the strength and conditioning business, and the newly minted nominee for Trainer of the Year at this year's upcoming World MMA Awards. That is a Viking, Phil Daru. Phil, what is going on, nominee?
Hey, I can't thank all these people enough for actually nominating me. And Jason, man, I thank you, man, for reaching out to those guys and actually letting them know, what's going on over here at American Top Team. So I appreciate that, brother. But everything's good. I just did a seminar at my gym the other day. It was a good turnout, and it was actually good because I didn't have to travel across the country and or travel across the world to go to a seminar. It was fun. I had a lot of good coaches out there. It was a good event, and I actually brought Nick Davenport down to do some cognitive conditioning. We did a little bit of games there. Everybody kind of liked it, and it was a good eye opener for a lot of the coaches not really understanding the processes of what we do when we team up. But yeah, it was a good weekend, and now I'm excited because a lot of people know this female that we are about to interview, but some may not. So this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, since you mentioned, this week's guest is it's going to be a show first. We have had on UFC world champions and top contenders before. We have never had on an Olympic medalist, and not only will we have on an Olympic medalist, but she is a two-time gold medalist. And as the very gifted Kayla Harrison. Phil, Kayla has been working with ATT of late, preparing for her MMA pro debut with PFL. How has the experience been to work with such an esteemed Olympic competitor? You've worked with some great athletes and professionals. Is there any difference when you're dealing with an Olympian?
Yeah, as soon as I started working with her, I knew that she was high level, not just from her physicality, but from her psychological aspects. The way she approached training, the way she got there early, she's telling me to start the classes early. She's like, "Coach, come on, it's 10:59." So it's actually a blessing, man, to actually have somebody like that to help with other fighters that, may not have that ability to want to be there sometimes, and for her, she loves what she does, and this is a new venture for her, but I think that she can carry over what she's done all of her life when it comes down to competing. When you're that at that level of competition, it steamrolls into whatever you want to do in life. And I know she does a lot of things with motivational speaking, and she does a lot of seminars like that. So it should be fun to actually see exactly what she goes through when she does these things. And I heard she did a TV show, which you were telling me. And, but as far as her being an athlete and a competitor, it's a blessing because at the same time, every coach likes to have that opportunity to coach somebody at that caliber, and to have the mindset of Kayla Harrison is something that will benefit every fighter that comes into that gym. So it's also very good.
Yeah, and I'm excited. Can't forget to mention that you can listen to previous episodes just like this one of show guests with Ioanni and Jacek, Linton Vitzel, King Mo, Dustin Poirier, Dennis Bermudez by finding our pages on iTunes, Spotify, Player FM, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and on YouTube. Please share, comment, leave us some ratings on those stream services. Also, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, you can find a bunch of pertinent information on our Facebook page, and you can contact us at fightstrengthpodcast@gmail.com. Before we move on to bringing on Kayla, I also wanted to bring up, I've seen some recent announcements from you. You got some work coming up in England and Australia?
Yeah, so Australia, I'll be out there doing a 2-city seminar tour. We're going to Melbourne on the 28th, and then I'll be staying there the entire week to the next weekend and going to Sydney on the 5th. So on the 28th, though, that's when Ioanna and Dustin are both fighting. So we're going to be having basically a party showing of the fight. So it'll be good, and I'll be there, basically talking all things combat sports related, fight preparations and things like that. Also be going over a little bit of nutrition and weight cutting protocols that I use, and what we use in weight cutting systematic strategies as well. So yeah, it'll be good. And then
Are you going to like specific gyms in England, like like an MMA gym, or like where you plan to be going there? Like in those cities?
Both. There are both strength and conditioning gyms that do train some fighters, I believe. The one gym is in Melbourne. It's called the Strong Room, and I believe it's kind of just like same thing. It's strength and conditioning with a couple of jiu-jitsu guys that they train and things like that, and probably some MMA guys. Not too sure exactly. And then the other one in Sydney is Lift Performance Center. And what I've seen on pictures, man, it's a great facility. So I'm excited. And these guys, Australia, they know what they're doing over there. So it's going to be good to converse with these coaches and actually get a feel for what I do. The one thing that I've learned is that, we know the basics. A lot of the coaches do know the science behind it, but with this sport, it's so very new, and the bioenergetics of the sport are so mixed that there is so many detailed and methodologies that you could go through and have to understand to encompass full performance for the fighters. Because if not, then you're basically just trying to throw shit at the wall, trying to make it stick, like I always say. And you got to have a plan. Remember, I always say, if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. And, primarily what I'm trying to accomplish here is to get people to understand the sport and then how to physically prepare a fighter, especially with a fighter's mentality, and get into not only just the physiological side, but the psychological side of training. And that's where we can encompass all aspects of physical preparation when it comes down to fighters in general.
And the stop in Great Britain, the place where we just had a royal wedding of late?
Yeah, November. We're still in talks with that. I'm not sure like if that's a complete 100%, but I think it's going to be London if it's going to be anywhere. So it'll be sometime in November. I'm still working the kinks out on that and then actually seeing what they want to do. But yeah, London probably be my last seminar of the year in November, because after that we got the holidays, and I'm a family man.
I mean, and for the places that you mentioned, that's all Australia, because we have good listeners in Australia. You can give them more because we have good loyal listeners in the UK. Do they just go to those websites? Can they start going to those the gym's websites now about counting about being at those seminars, or it's gonna be it's not set up yet for getting in for that?
In Australia, you can go to the Unknown Strength and Conditioning website, or you can go to my Instagram. I have a post up there. You can see exactly what's going on, and also you can click on their page and see how to register and everything like that.
All right, cool. It is now time for our guest. She will be making her professional MMA debut June 21st at PFL 2. She is making her debut now because at just 27 years of age, she's coming off of one of, if not the greatest, Olympic careers of any American-born judoka, having won gold medals in judo in 2012 and then again in 2016. She is now training with the Stars of America top team and our very own Phil Daru in preparation for this highly anticipated debut, and that person is Kayla Harrison. Kayla, thank you so much for coming on the show with us this week.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. So, Jason kind of went over the intro, but Kayla, go ahead and tell the listeners, if they don't know who you are, which is kind of crazy if they don't, exactly how you came up in judo and now that transition into MMA and all things like that.
Yeah. Well, my name is Kayla, and I started judo when I was about 6 years old. And then by the time I was 16, I moved to train with the Olympic coaches in Boston. I finished my judo career there, and I guess you could say now officially I'm the most decorated American judo player of all time. I won America's first Olympic gold medal in 2012, and then I repeated in 2016. I've won the World Championships in 2010, the Junior World Championships. I'm 10-time national champion. I won the Pan Am Games twice. I won pretty much everything there is to win twice.
Very humble.
Oh, man.
Sorry, no, I didn't mean it like that. I just mean like.
No, it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, no.
So pretty much.
I just wanted to speed it up a little.
Yeah,
No,
nah.
I wanted to speed up the intro. I'm good at judo. That's the intro.
I hear you. So go ahead and what's the driving force of you actually getting into MMA and why you want to continue competing?
Yeah, so like I just said, so humbly, I pretty much have done everything I wanted to do in judo. I've won medals, I won the world championships. My goals, all of my goals in judo, I've reached. So I knew after 2016 that I was going to be retiring from judo, but I didn't really feel like I was necessarily done having an athletic career. And MMA, women's MMA especially, is something that I've been keeping my eye on and something that's been starting to grow as a sport. It's one of the fastest, I think it is the fastest women's sport, like in terms of growth in the US. And I said, okay, after the Olympics, I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. I started doing a little bit of training, and it turns out that MMA is even more of a challenge than judo ever was. And I love a challenge. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be all in. So I moved down to Florida to train with the best team in the world, and here I am.
Awesome.
I mean, to me, it really takes a special person to be a fighter to become okay with taking that sort of damage. It's not something most people can come to terms with. I mean, judo is a very physical sport in itself. So was it a huge leap, internally? And was it a long debate inside you to say, yeah, I'm going to go into MMA? Or, that, not just only that, was it a big debate? And did you have any other career ideas instead of MMA that you seriously thought about doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely. The International Judo Federation offered me a job to sort of be like an ambassador and basically just like the poster child for judo. And I have a foundation as well, so I considered just sort of doing that and teaching judo, opening a school. There were definitely a lot of doors open. I also do a lot of commentating, so I considered just doing, being an analyst for MMA and not necessarily competing and fighting. But at the end of the day, like that competitive thing that's inside of me is just sort of too hard to fight. And I can't stand the fact that people think that there are tougher women on the planet than me. So I had to fight.
I mean, did you, ponder at all taking any amateur fights before jumping into, right into a pro debut? Or it's like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't really know I didn't know how it works. Like, I didn't know you could be an amateur before you were a pro. I didn't know. But I just was sort of like, yeah, I'm going to fight. And then I got a deal with, I was already sort of from the very beginning, I had interest from all of the big groups. So basically it was just about finding the right fit for me. And I guess I'm pro right away. I didn't know that you could even really be amateur.
Would you have wanted to do amateur? I mean, you have such, major name value. I mean, you're not going to get paid. Would you have felt it was worth it to even do amateur?
Oh, definitely. I think experience is so important, especially in combat sports and especially in something, like you're literally getting in a cage and they're locking the door behind you and that person's trying to kill you. So I feel like hindsight, I wish I would have had a couple amateur fights so that I could get my feet wet and really see what it's all about. Because who knows, maybe June 21st I get in that cage and I freeze. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. I know deep down that's not going to happen, but it would have been good to test that theory, maybe not under the big lights first.
Yeah. And I have one more question before you, Phil, you can take another one. You see a lot of high-level Olympians and collegiate athletes that the professional wrestling, like WWE, will be lurking around for contract. Did you ever get contacted by WWE about,
I did, yeah. But it just wasn't really, it wasn't really a good fit for me. No, the big thing was you don't control the script. So if they wanted to make your character, a total asshole, they could. And also the travel is just like insane. Like you travel 4 out of the 7 days a week. Yep. And I already did that with judo for the past, decade. I lived out of a suitcase for 6 months out of the year. So it was just not something I was really interested in personally, just didn't fit.
Yeah, I would say that'd be a hectic schedule regardless. You've been doing that since you were a kid. It's not even It
Yeah,
wouldn't be,
exactly.
and for me, what I've already learned just from working with you is that I think you like punching people in the face.
I
Um,
do. I know.
and,
I
and,
do. It's
and really
crazy.
punching them in the face, like not fake punching them for real.
Yeah. Well, it's just so different. Like it's, I always thought growing up, like, not to like crap on judo or anything, but I always thought like, oh, I do a combat sport. Like I do, this, what I do is real, and like
Yeah.
it's tough, and I'm tough, and this is hard. And it is, like, judo is very hard, but at the end of the day, like, there's a referee and there's rules, and there's so
Mhm.
many rules, and you can get stopped and stood back up and all this stuff. And like with MMA, it's really kind of like, it's not no holds bar, but it's pretty
Mhm.
much like you control your destiny. I always used to say that judo is like a chess match, but with people,
Yep.
with live things. But MMA really is a chess match. Like it's really about who has developed the better strategy, who has the better game plan, who has worked harder, and who is ready to instill their will. And I mean, it's something that can change in the blink of an eye. You can get clipped and that's it. You're all done. But I think that the journey to getting into the cage is so fascinating to me. And I've really,
Yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Talking about the journey, can you pretty much talk about like the major differences with their strength and conditioning, even though
Hmm.
we do talk about that a lot, but and I know me and you already conversed about it, but let the listeners know like what's the difference between judo getting ready for that and now
Hmm.
getting ready for a mixed martial arts fight?
Hmm. Well, I think just when you look at MMA versus a judo match. So judo, all of your matches are fought in one day, but it's a 5-minute match and then you get a break. And you have a gi, which obviously
Hmm.
changes the what's the word I'm looking for? The leverage. Like
Yeah.
it's much easier to hold on, and you have to have a lot more grip strength, and like sort of, I would say like your explosive power has to be a little bit different than what it is in MMA. Like MMA is a 5-minute times three or times five. It's kind of like this long, like you have to keep a certain pace the whole time, and you have to be able to like change that pace in the blink of an eye and go
Hmm.
up and go down and go up and go down, where you do in judo, but not quite to the same level.
Yeah.
And that's even one of the things that I've been struggling with so much. Not struggling with, but just like learning to adapt in MMA is like I'm so used to just having one pace, go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward, and that's
Yep.
not really, you can't do that in MMA. And I'm even in like even everything that we're doing is so different from what I did during
Yep.
my judo career. I mean, I did a lot of Olympic lifts and a lot of um, mobility and stuff like that, but never to the point where I felt like it was like I can actually see gains when we work on mobility, or I can actually see gains when we're in the gym. And it's so different from before, where it was like I was just doing it because it's part of the program kind of
Sure.
thing,
Hmm.
And it's also for judo, we don't have the bodies that say France has or Japan has or Brazil has. We
Hmm.
have 12 people on the mat to train with. So we have to get our conditioning and things like that from other areas, whether it be, some people cross train and do jujitsu. I, really focused a lot on my strength and conditioning and felt really conditioned in terms of being a judo player. But in MMA, like, especially at ATT, you have 50 people on the mat every session. So
Yeah.
you don't struggle with having a lack of bodies. So
Yeah.
it's a good opportunity, I feel like, for me to be very, very specific and really work on the areas that I need to work on in order to be the most well-rounded, strong MMA fighter that I can be.
Nice.
As switching to a new sport, you mentioned it before. It's exciting you. Obviously, there will be pressure because you're, very impressive Olympic achievements, and of course, the obvious comparisons are going to be with Ronda Rousey. But now you
Mm-hmm.
are the new kid on the block. You aren't looked at as being the best in this particular sport yet. Is there an excitement of being a bit of an underdog for the first time in a very long time?
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I thrive under that pressure, and I thrive under that chaos a little bit. For me, um, if I look at my career, like I haven't gone without a competition of some sort since I was 6 years old, like longer than 6 months. except for now. I haven't fought or competed in any way, shape, or form besides like, you know, Uno, since the 2016 Olympic Games. So it's been a really long time for me, and I miss it. There's nothing quite like being the best in the world at what you do. There's nothing quite like standing on the biggest stage in the world and having all eyes on you. And that's something, it's the greatest natural high on earth. That's what I always tell people. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not afraid of pressure. I thrive in it, and I can't wait. I'm very excited.
Now, you will be competing at featherweight for PFL. I mean, it's almost 30 pounds lower than where you did in the Olympics. Have you done a lot of weight cutting during your judo career? Is there a goal weight you would like always to be a few weeks before fight? Phil mentions, what he has planned for a lot of his fighters. Like, what's that experience going to be like of having to weight cut? I mean, what's your experience with weight cutting?
Yeah. Well, I never really cut weight for judo. I did when I was a kid, when I was really young, but I did it really poorly, the same way that all teenage kids do. I starved myself and, cut way too much, way too fast, et cetera, et cetera. All of the bad things that you shouldn't do, I did. And I'm also hypoglycemic, so when I would, starve myself, I would pass out and go into, a mini coma, so that was fun. And my coaches always felt like if I was going to win, it didn't matter what I weighed. If I wanted to win, I would have to beat whoever was in front of me. So they moved me up actually 2 weight classes because Rhonda was in the weight class above me. So they bumped me up 2 weight classes. I had to put on a couple pounds. And when I was competing at the highest level, from basically 2008 until 2016, I was eating 6,000 calories a day. I was training hard. I was living the life. I didn't really worry about what I ate at all. And I felt like I was so disciplined in all the other areas of my life, that I didn't need to really be super disciplined about what I ate. That being said, I wasn't a slob, but I definitely, if I wanted to have a cookie, I had a cookie, it was never something I thought about. Maybe 2, because, it's 2 times.
Cookies are delicious.
Cookies are really good for you.
Oh God! Don't tell him that. Do not tell him that, Kayla. Don't tell him that. Please don't.
I mean, I would be an ice cream person, but cookies are just
He's gonna
good.
fucking eat all the cookies in the world now.
Listen, I'm a high-level athlete as well. I've got to maintain my calorie amounts, Phil. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about calories. But no, so I never really cut weight to cut that question a little bit shorter. Not the right way anyways, but now, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. I want to be the best in the world. And part of being a professional athlete is being professional about your weight and your nutrition. And I'm lucky enough that I have a lot of help in that area. Phil's been helping me a lot. I went out to the UFC Performance Institute, and they helped me out a lot, did a bunch of tests and all that stuff. But really, I think it's just, honestly, it comes down to being a disciplined athlete. And if you want something bad enough, you'll skip the cookie, which it's been hard for me, but I'm learning.
Let me just go ahead and Kayla, let me go ahead and chime in on that one. I mean, you're not really at a point where you're overweight at all. You're probably in the best condition you can be in to be in that weight class. I mean,
I definitely feel like that. I'm worried because I weigh about 160 pounds, so I'm,
Oh, so close. You're right close there.
Yeah. I mean, so here's how it worked. Is after the Olympics, I went to all the parties, drank every night, and got super fat. And then started doing MMA and started to lean out a little bit, but still was eating and drinking whatever I wanted. And then once I decided, actually, my coach, Big Jim, really said to me, I told Big Jim, I said, listen, I want to fight. And he said, no, you don't. I said, no, I'm going to fight. He's like, you're not fighting. And I said, no, I want to fight. He said, okay, when you get your fat ass weight down, then I'll know you want to fight. And I said, what? And he said, you heard me. Get your weight down, and then I'll know you want to fight. And I said, okay. So then I started taking the weight part of it seriously, and I got my weight down to, probably about 165-ish, 160, whatever, around there. And then he started coming to practice with me and actually, being an active part of my camp and all of that. So That's how I got my weight down. Big Jim said, "Get your fat ass weight down."
Well, I have a question just to further drive Phil crazy. Two favorite cookies.
Oh, geez.
2 favorite cookies. Well, first of all, you can't mess with a chocolate chip. Like, there's nothing. Like, it's just so simple, so pure.
Oh, God.
It's beautiful.
What about Oreos? I love Oreos.
Oreos, yeah, they're okay. Like, I wouldn't go pick them out. Like, if I was gonna have a cheat thing, I wouldn't pick out Oreos. But if someone gave me an Oreo, I'm not gonna say no.
I'll side with you on this
I mean,
one.
I
and
would
I'll say
now.
I don't want to hear this again, but
Okay.
I do agree with Kayla. If you're gonna go with a cookie, you got to do chocolate chip, and Oreos
Yeah.
aren't really even considered a cookie in my mind.
Yeah.
It's
What? Oreo double
kinda
stuff
like
is like
sandwich.
pure heaven in one's mouth. What are you
No,
talking about?
there's nothing better than just like a fresh out of the oven, nice, still warm chocolate chip cookie.
What about an oatmeal cookie? I'm a big oatmeal cookie guy.
Oh, don't even bother. Like, what's the point?
What? What about
Fucking
oatmeal
18 years old,
raisin?
bro.
Oatmeal raisin is delicious.
Oh
There's
my.
nothing worse than thinking you picked up a chocolate chip cookie and you've been betrayed and it's actually oatmeal raisin. That's probably the worst feeling in the world.
Phil, what is your 2 favorite cookies?
I honestly, I mean, I'm a peanut butter guy, so I like, peanut butter cookie and then chocolate chip.
Yuck.
I
Disgusting.
like peanut butter too. That's number 2.
See, this
For
is
sure.
why
We're
you're
the
the
same,
outsider.
Phil.
All right, Phil.
I knew we connected, me and Kayla on
Yeah.
that.
Right from the get-go, we connected.
All right, Phil, you could take it.
Yeah, so I mean, with this one, I mean, we work together consistently, throughout the weeks, and what I've seen from you, Kayla, is that you have a competitive edge that I don't think can be matched. You do want to train hard. You tell the guys to hurry up and get ready, and you're early, which is awesome. A lot of times, like, I gotta fucking call these guys in 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
they're still wrapping their hands. But with what you've gone through, do you feel like this can definitely correlate and contribute to your success in MMA, as far as just being such a high level athlete and doing what you've done in the past? Do you think that this can actually transfer over into the MMA, success?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I think in so many different ways, for one, like just growing up on the judo mat, but also the gym I come from, the Pedros, and it's the same, I think, for wrestlers and high level athletes, especially Olympic athletes. Like, Big Jim would lock the door at, if practice was at 10 o'clock, he'd lock the door at 10 o'clock. And if you weren't on the mat, you weren't on the mat and you missed practice,
Yeah.
So for me, like, no, a black belt's on time is 15 minutes early. Like, that's what he always used to tell me when I was growing up and stuff. But just that mentality, that, like, I don't know, I'm crazy. Like, even when we're doing warm-ups, like, I hate not being at the front of the line. I hate having to, like, wait for someone else to go through the warm-ups. I like to be the leader. I like to be in front. I like to lead the pack. I like to be the first one on the mat. I like to be the last one to leave. That mentality and being able to do that every day and grind that out every single day. I mean, the Olympics is once every 4 years, and it's one day. So, everyone's like, oh, I went through a really hard camp. I went through 10 weeks. And I'm like, 10 weeks? What are you talking about, 10 weeks? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so that, I think, is going to be a big help for me. And also just, like, not that, I think MMA fighters are all starting to become athletes, but, I see a lot of guys, like, they'll go through camp and then they take off, a month or something. And, like, it's just not, I was in a sport where there was really no season, so you competed all the time. So, like I said, it was a grind. I had one tournament, a month usually, and you don't go to a tournament and then take a week off. You go to the tournament and the next day you're at a training camp and you're, doing sparring twice a day. In judo you can because you're not getting punched, so it's a little bit different. It's still hard on the body, but you're constantly grinding. You're constantly going through that. And then, the other way I really think that what I've been through is going to help is just dealing with the pressure. People think like a fight is a lot of pressure. And I even talked to Mike Brown about this. Like I said, I hate every time guys go to get in the cage, like you see these big, tough, manly men, or even the girls, going to get in the cage and they're like hugging their corner. They're like, they all give each other hugs. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, stop it, and then it's like, and I can see on one hand, like, of course, it's life or death. Like you're getting in there, you're putting your reputation on the line, you're putting your health on the line, you're putting everything on the line. So I get it. It's a big emotional moment, but you best believe Jimmy and Big Jim weren't giving me a hug before I walked out into the finals of the Olympics. They weren't like, whatever happens, we love you. No, they were like, get your ass in there, get it done. So I think being able to deal with pressure and being able to keep it all in perspective is gonna that's also gonna help me from my past career.
I read an article that stated that you did some boxing and jiu-jitsu training in the past while you're working on your Olympic goals. I mean, so while not a total fish out of water, and you have a fantastic base to start off from compared to a lot of other amateurs and pros getting into the sport, what aspect has been probably the hardest to transition into, complete and round out your game? The boxing, the kickboxing, the Muay Thai, the wrestling. Has there been a particular one that's been even frustrating for such a high level athlete like yourself?
Oh man, definitely. I would say the striking. It's so different from. I don't know. It's so hard to say. I mean, I'm still not like the greatest wrestler yet either. I definitely pick up grappling so much faster than I pick up the striking. And the striking is just it's just, I don't know, like little things like head movement, I never had to move my head in judo. Like I friggin' went straight forward like a bull, and, bending my knees, like that seems like such a small thing, but like staying in like a good athletic position while you're fighting in MMA is so different. Like your posture in judo is very straight. You're very like up and down because you don't want to get thrown. So your hips are always engaged and your head is up and your back is straight. If you do that, you're going to get, knocked out.
You do see that a lot. You do see that a lot in a lot of people that come from a judo background. Is they are a little bit more stiff-legged, and we've talked about this too, Kayla. Is that we got to start using those legs.
Yep.
But I mean, the legs are there. You have the power. You have the abilities, and once that happens, it's fucking lights out for anybody, But you're getting there. It's not like it's like so far-fetched, and she's still dropping people on their heads in practice right now, so it's not a big deal.
I mean, all good things take time.
How much total time have you been focusing completely on MMA, would you say, at this point?
I started training in earnest, I would say, about a year ago. So.
Yeah, I think Phil would admit that this woman in June is in trouble. I think she's in trouble. A year is that's a lot. That's a good amount of time, especially for the base that you have. I can't wait for this debut. But I mean, we mentioned it off air before. I'm a big fan of the show Impractical Jokers, and one of my favorite segments is the one you took part in last year. First, how did you threw around this myrrh from the show? If you haven't watched the show, there's four guys. They do practical jokes on each other. One of the characters is myrrh. You got to just judo throw the hell out of him, which is fucking hilarious. First, how did that all come about that you were contacted for the show? And you told me a little bit off it, but just for the people, were you familiar with the show before you agreed upon it? And how did that all come about?
Yeah. So, no, the producers of I think the producers of the show reached out to my assistant and said like, hey, we're looking. So I was Murr's punishment. So I had never seen the show before, but I guess they do like little competitions, and then whoever loses has to go through like a punishment, and then all the guys come up with punishments for each other. So I was Murr's punishment basically. And they had watched me or something, and they just wanted someone to beat the crap out of Murr.
Which you did.
Which I did. So I had never seen the show before, but my assistant was like, oh, my boys love the show. You should totally do it. And the backstory was we were going to be at this big fancy party in the Hamptons. And so I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I'll go to a party in the Hamptons and beat the crap out of somebody. Like, I don't care. That sounds fun. So I showed up. And like nobody knows who I am or like what's going on, including Murr. So we're just at this party. There's all these guests. It's super fancy, and I have an earpiece in, and the three other guys are basically just telling me what to do. So I'm like, and he had no idea. Like he literally showed up that day, and I like I gave him like he had a wig on, so I like pulled his wig off and gave him a noogie, and I like, arm barred him down to the ground, and I like, I beat the crap out of him. I threw him through a table, I threw him into the pool, I choked him, like, it was pretty funny. And he just kept like coming after me, like that's what they said. Like they just said, "Hey, Mur, this girl's an Olympic champion in judo. Your punishment, take her out." So like he just kept coming up and like trying to wrestle me kind of, and it was pretty funny. It was really good. They actually offered me a job after that.
Really? What was
Yeah.
that?
Well, they were like, "Oh, do you want to follow us around and just beat the shit out of Mur?" And I was like, I really appreciate that, but I have stuff going on. They actually just contacted me like, I don't know, they contacted me a couple weeks ago. I did another episode with them, like an Olympic special where I was a judge.
Oh yeah,
and I like
saw
judged
that.
all
I
of
saw
the
that.
yeah. And then they just I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but I think they're making a movie. So they wanted me to be in the movie, and unfortunately I said, "Listen, guys, I love beating up Mur, but I actually have someone who's gonna really try to fight me." So train for that.
I mean, and that's funny too, because on the show throughout its history, there's the character Sal. I mean, not character, but the guy Sal. He's afraid of cats, so they always have a person show up in a cat suit to terrorize him. And I can see them. They're probably thinking, "Let's just have Kayla show up to throw Mur around at random times," and that would have been completely hilarious.
Yeah, that's basically what they wanted me to do. Like they were like, "Do you need a job? Like, can you just beat his ass?" And I was like, "Thanks, but no thanks."
I mean, so outside, of the judo, the MMA you're working on, I mean, what's, your personal passions? What are the things you like? What's the kind of music you're into? Movies? Have you seen Infinity War? Do you like TV shows? Game of Thrones? Because Phil knows Game of Thrones is the best show on TV.
No, it's fucking not.
No, Game of Thrones is not the best show on TV.
What?
Tell him right now Vikings is better than Game
It's
of
not
Thrones.
Vikings. Stop it.
I haven't watched Vikings either. I don't watch a lot of TV. I'm gonna be honest with you.
That's the only thing I watch, Kayla. Give me
I
something.
don't have a lot of time. Listen, I am a firm supporter of Phil having any kind of downtime whatsoever. It's a Sunday and he's working, so I'm a little bit tickled with him already. Like, I like all music. I'm a big country girl. I grew up in Ohio, so I like country music, but I also like, I don't know, everything. I don't really do anything for fun because fun is for losers. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. I give Phil a hard time about being a workaholic, but I work a lot too. I have a foundation that I started. I just wrote a book. I do a lot of motivational speaking for companies and for charities and organizations. Training is, 2 to 3 times a day, every day except Sunday. And then I just moved to Florida, so I like to go to the beach a lot now. I don't know. That's it. I got no TV shows at the moment. I don't watch any TV. I do a lot of reading. That's it. That's all I got.
All right, Phil, any final thoughts or questions before we head out of here?
No, I just want people to understand what they're about to see when this girl starts to really take steam and makes it happen. Because I'm very excited, and it's an honor always to be able to train this girl, and she is a true competitor and true athlete and a true champion, soon to be for sure in MMA. Already in judo, but in MMA for sure.
I mean, Kayla,
Thanks.
is there any, social media, Kayla, your Twitter, your Facebook, your foundation's website,
Yeah.
The book that's you're working on, anywhere people can find this information?
Yeah, so my Twitter is at judo_Kayla. My Instagram is the same. You can go to my website, KaylaHarrison.com. Called Fighting Back, and it's available on Amazon and in a lot of bookstores and stuff all over the country. And my Facebook is also Kayla Harrison. And yeah, follow my journey. Get ready. It's going to be a bumpy ride for a lot of other people.
Phil, as always, give them your social.
Okay, Twitter is Daru Strong, Instagram's Daru Strong. You can check out my website, www.darustrong.com. It's all very simple. If you don't know it by now, man, come on. Let's be honest. You got to get with the picture here. That's it.
All right, for me, it's Jericho Vendetta on Instagram, Cheap Seats Chat on Twitter, but also don't forget Fight Strength Podcast on Facebook, Fight Strength _ on Twitter. Kayla, thank you so much for coming on. Truly an honor. It's a rare opportunity to get to talk to an Olympic medalist like yourself. I really appreciate you coming on, just getting to talk to you this week.
Aw, thanks, guys. Thank you so much. And I just want to thank, everyone at ATT for welcoming me with open arms. All of the coaches, all the training partners, obviously my gym back home, the Pedros, and everyone who supported me. And yeah, I'm excited, guys. Thank you.
All right.
That is it for this week. I am Jason Burgos. He's Phil Daru. She is Kayla Harrison, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. Until next time, everybody. Bye-bye.